Pro wrestlers have taken over the Super Bowl. Will Tony Khan book himself to wrestle in AEW? And which WWE brand will this former AEW champion choose? But first, be sure to subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the latest pro wrestling news. Let's begin then with news of All Elite Wrestling's newest blockbuster signing. We're coming off the back of the announcement for AEW Dynamite Big Business, a television special that all but confirms the impending debut of Mercedes Moné, the former Sasha Banks in WWE. It seems, however, that Tony Khan's free agency plays haven't stopped there, as he looks to have secured the services of arguably the biggest name on the current free agents list. According to a fresh report from Fightful Select, former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Kazuchika Okada is set to become All Elite in the near future, news that broke shortly after his last scheduled singles match for New Japan Pro-Wrestling this past weekend, a new beginning in Osaka, and the report notes, Fightful has learned that legendary New Japan Pro-Wrestling star Kazuchika Okada is headed with All Elite Wrestling after leaving NJPW. We're told that the deal was effectively agreed to in the last couple of weeks, but we haven't confirmed that pen has been put to paper, as we're told it's being finalized. AEW has been confident that they'd land him for the last several weeks, and even as far back as mid-January. As mentioned, the Rainmaker would wrestle his last scheduled singles match for former employer NJPW last night, when he successfully defeated longtime foe Hiroshi Tanahashi in Osaka, this after his contract with the promotion came to an end at the start of the month. He now has one match left on his schedule, with it being announced that he will team with Hiroshi Tanahashi, Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi, and Tomohiro Ishii to face Jeff Cobb, Haner, Great O'Khan, Callum Newman, and former WWE superstar Matt Riddle on the February 24th New Beginning in Sapporo show. Last night's Osaka show would also be the home of Will Ospreay's farewell to the company, somebody who is also AEW bound, as he would find himself on the losing side of a steel cage 10-man tag match, with his United Empire faction falling short against Bullet Club War Dogs. Now going back to the report, Fightful Select would detail the current situation regarding Okada's creative plans once he arrives in AEW, with there having been ideas proposed as early as January, and Fightful would note, we haven't heard firm plans on when Kazuchika Okada is slated for his debut as an AEW contracted star. However, we've heard it's expected to be after he finishes up his commitments with New Japan Pro-Wrestling. There'd already been creative plans for Okada tossed around as of January. We've also heard of discussions out of Las Vegas this past weekend discussing that the first half of March would be big for the company. In terms of talks between Okada and WWE, Fightful would report that WWE talent they've spoken with confirmed that negotiations did take place between the two sides, although this is something WWE themselves have denied. The talent in question would note that Okada was weighing the pros and cons of heading to WWE as opposed to AEW, but in the end it's thought that AEW were very confident in their offer to snap him up. The report concludes by noting that there was no real discussion for Okada to join NXT, something that has been rumoured online as of late. And before we get into our next story, let's quickly touch on some comments made by Will Ospreay following his final New Japan match before joining AEW, as the aerial assassin would confirm that he is able to work matches for NJPW in the future, something that will likely be the case for Okada too, and Ospreay would say, I signed my deal with AEW and I'm allowed to come back and do New Japan matches. I don't know when that's going to be. I need to find balance first because I have no idea what I'm doing right now. I'm scared for this next job. I've had anxiety traveling to America. It's not that I don't enjoy it, I just get scared. I've always done this on my own. I promise you guys on everything, I will be back. I promise you, I will be back. But what do you make of All Elite Wrestling signing the biggest star in Japanese wrestling today, and how much of an impact will the trio of Kazuchika Okada, Will Ospreay, and Mercedes Moné make on the promotion shows and business in general? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And next up, pro wrestling has taken over the Super Bowl. The 2023 NFL season would come to a close last night inside the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas when the San Francisco 49ers collided with the Kansas City Chiefs in an attempt to become this year's Super Bowl champions. Not only would the show feature appearances from pop star Taylor Swift and apparently some NFL players too, but there would also be several names from pro wrestling in attendance and some other appearing during the infamous commercial breaks. Firstly, we have this photo of the forbidden door between WWE and AEW being held wide open, as you can see AEW's Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné attending the game alongside WWE talent Rey Mysterio, Bayley, Naomi, Jimmy Uso, and Titus O'Neil, as well as former WWE superstar Mojo Rawley. Not only that, but WWE's crossover superstar Bad Bunny was also spotted in the stands during the game. Wrestling's involvement wouldn't stop there, as a WrestleMania 40 commercial would air on the night to promote this year's grandest stage of them all, featuring Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, who are in line to main event the show, with them standing alongside Seth Rollins and The Rock, reminiscent of the recent WrestleMania press conference event. Many have taken this as a potential tease of a tag team match on night one, or perhaps even a singles bout between the WWE World Heavyweight Champion Rollins and the Great One himself. WWE's Jade Cargill would also be seen in a commercial, this time to promote Mountain Dew's Baja Blast, with the former AEW TBS champion dropping Aubrey Plaza with a frog splash inside the squared circle. Stone Cold Steve Austin was also spotted in a commercial of his own to promote the Kawasaki Ridge Off-Roader, with the motor leaving him with a brand spanking new mullet. On top of this, John Cena would play a small part in the commercial to promote gambling company FanDuel, with him caught laughing at WWE alumni Rob Gronkowski for missing a high-stakes field goal. And finally, WWE Hall of Famers Mr. T and Arnold Schwarzenegger would star in ads for Skechers and State Farm respectively, although I'll let you decide if this one counts or not. But is there any wrestling Super Bowl cameos that I missed, and which one was your favourite of the bunch? Let me know in the comments down below. And next, will Tony Khan book himself to wrestle in AEW? Over the years, we've seen several authority figures and non-wrestlers step into the ring for matches, whether it be the likes of Eric Bischoff and Vince McMahon, or managers such as Paul Heyman and Jim Cornette. With that said, one authority figure yet to make such a move is AEW President Tony Khan, who has been adamant that he will remain largely off-screen beyond making announcements. Speaking with Levac and Goz this week, Khan would be asked if he ever plans on lacing up his wrestling boots in the future, something he doesn't see happening anytime soon, and he would say, "I don't think anybody really wants to see that, not anytime soon. That's not anything I think we're going to do. I do think AEW is a great roster, the best wrestlers in the world. I would rather try to put on the best matches, and we have exciting rivalries building in AEW right now." In a separate interview, Tony would also discuss the recent announcement that ESPN, Fox, and current AEW broadcast partner Warner Bros. Discovery are set to launch their own combined streaming service, something many fans expect to feature all Elite Wrestling content once a new deal has been reached. Khan would be asked about this possibility on K&C Masterpiece, and he would say, "It's something to keep an eye on. We have a great thing going with TBS and TNT, and now the streaming side of it, I haven't sold my streaming rights. It's an option that we have, and it's going to be a very exciting year for media rights in wrestling, and AEW is coming up in a contract year." Khan would also discuss the streaming situation with Denise Salcedo of Instinct Culture, adding a bit more detail about streaming in the current wrestling landscape, and he would say, "It's a really exciting time. AEW, we do not have a streaming platform that we are with domestically right now. It's something the wrestling fans have been calling for. We have the library, we have the content, and we also produce great new content, including the great pay-per-view events. There is a ton of opportunity in the market and clearly demand for it. Seeing what's happening in the industry right now, seeing other big streaming deals happening in wrestling, in particular for AEW, the stage is set for us to have a great media rights year. By the end of the year, we'll know the home for AEW going forward." Next up, which WWE brand will this former AEW champion choose? Former AEW TBS champion Jade Cargill would wrestle her first WWE match last month as part of the Women's Royal Rumble, with her being one of the key players in the matchup. With that said, Cargill is yet to sign with an official WWE brand in storyline, with her currently pondering offers from both Raw and SmackDown. This weekend, Cargill would discuss her decision with Denise Salcedo of Instinct Culture, where she would remain in character over her decision, stating that she will land where the money takes her, and Jade would respond, "I love Raw, it's a long night. I love me some SmackDown. I don't know yet. I don't know. I want to see who can give me the biggest bid and who can promise me some great matches." According to reports shortly following her signing with WWE last year, it looked like she would be heading to Monday Night Raw, although a tease of a match with Bianca Belair during the Rumble could hint that she will instead choose Friday Night SmackDown instead. With a recent graphic seemingly hinting that she'll be part of the upcoming Elimination Chamber match, it might not be too long until we find out. But which brand do you see Jade Cargill landing on as WrestleMania draws closer? Let me know in the comments down below. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 shocking Roman Reigns facts that WWE wants you to forget.